Hey YouTube, it's Marita and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. In this edition, we're actually going to talk about when I was in nursing school, what were some of the difficult things that I had to deal with in terms of classes, what were my difficult classes that I did or that I took, and basically let's talk about some of my struggles. Okay, let's talk about my struggles in nursing school. Let's start with the classes, with the exit exams and things like that. So I've talked about on other videos about the racism and nursing program, so I won't really go into that. But if you want to know the classes that I struggled with in my nursing program, and I actually will go on into my master's and my doctoral program as well, then please stay tuned. Welcome back. My name is Dr. Marita P. I'm a registered nurse. Been a nurse for 17 years. OBGYN is my specialty. I'm a nurse educator, teacher at HBCU, and I'm doctorally prepared. So in this video, if you're still here, you're here because you want to know what difficulties that I have when I was in nursing school regarding classes, what classes that I have a hard time with. And I'm actually going to go from the BSN to the MSN to the DNP and tell you my struggles in each program class-wise, like what was difficult about those classes. So if anybody knows the true essence of who I am, I will always tell you when it comes to math and science, I got those pretty much nailed down for the most part. Okay, I'm very good in math and science for the most part. Now, when it comes to like geography or history, I can't tell you what state is where. I mean, I know the general landscape of the United States. I know there's 50 states plus the DC. I know about the territories that we own. I know about all that, okay? However, if you say, what's the capital of such and such? I couldn't tell you. If you say, where is, I don't know, I can't name a state right now. But like, if you say, where's Idaho? I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's somewhere, is it up north? Is it out west? I don't know. So those things, not my thing right there. Math and science though, I got you, which is why I'm probably good at being a nurse. Now, that's what you came here for. So when it comes to my subject areas that I had a hard time in nursing school, let's start with the BSN program. Now, I want to tell you this. Let me go ahead and preface this by saying I already had a degree in psychology when I came to a nursing school. So a lot of people have problems with writing papers in nursing school or science classes because we do APA when it comes to those kind of sciences. And when it came to doing APA psychology, we did APA in psychology. So I had no problems transitioning from my psychology degree in terms of writing from APA. It's just keeping up with the additions that were on at that point in time. So a lot of people have a hard time transitioning from MLA, like what you do in English and history, to your sciences, which is like psychology, sociology, things like that, APA. And so for me, that was never an issue because I already did that with my psychology degree. So those are things that's something I was good at, which is not what this video is about. But anyway, what I had issues with when it came to my BSN specifically. So let's just start there. With my BSN, med-surg was not my strongest point, but it wasn't my weakest either. I just didn't enjoy med-surg classes, period. It's just one of those things I had to take, so I struggled with it only because of the fact that I had to take the classes, not because of the fact of the content. Now, when I took Adult Health 2, which is the second part of med-surg for us, the cardiac chapter was very difficult for me. Very difficult. I've always said that time and time again. The cardiac chapter was difficult for me. I would have had a B in my med-surg 2 class if it wasn't for the cardiac chapter. It cost me to have an 84 in the class because of the test that I took for that. And because of the 84 is a high C. So a B would have been an 85. So, and I took that 84 and ran with it. I will never, ever take that class ever again. So med-surg 2 was definitely one of those hard classes that I had. Now, research class was a hard class for me, not because of the fact of the APA part. APA was never an issue. Was I the best at it? No, but I understood it. I'm pretty good at it now. The thing with research is it's dry. It's just not one of those classes you even care about when you are in your baccalaureate level of education. Now, when you get to your master's and your doctoral level of education, you can understand the importance of why research is necessary and why it's important, because that's kind of what you focus on. But when it came to the undergrad, the BSN, it's like, okay, why are we taking this again? I do understand it in hindsight, but research was a hard class for me, not because of the content per se. It was because of how dry it was, and I was not interested in that. Of course, my goal was moms and babies. Hence, I'm an OB nurse. I did have difficulty in the OB class. It is the class that almost took me out of the program my senior year. And when it came to OB, it was the labor and delivery portion of the OB where we talked about fetal monitoring, station, effacement, dilation, things like that, stages of labor. For whatever reason, that was very difficult for our class. And as a result of that test, about 20 people had to drop the class. I did not have to drop the class, but I did not have high enough grades in my test to go to clinical. In our program, you had to have a 76 average to go to clinical every day. So I did not score a 76 on the exam. So therefore, the next clinical day, I could not go. And we did not have another exam for another like 3 weeks. So I missed 2 clinical days as a result of that. If you had a 76 average or below that, you could not go to clinical. You had to make those days up. So of course, those 2 weeks I did not have it. And so I had to make those days up. Because of that, that is the reason why I almost failed OB class. I got a B in the class in terms of finishing that class. So I did fine in the class after that, but that's something that kind of held me back. We had a class called sexual orientation class. Again, there was no issues with that class. It was actually a fun class. We actually had a, how do I say this for TV? We had a party where our instructor actually had, how do I say this on TV, for YouTube? Our instructor had it where we had someone come in with toys and objects and lotions and gels and things like that. Okay, I'll say it like that. And she sold those things to us. And the reason why he put this in this class, because I'm like, why are we having it was a brown bag party. That's what they called it, a brown bag party. And basically our instructor was like, these are the things that you will find stuck in people in the ER or whatever. And so, just so you understand, I'm kind of like, so we having a brown bag party for that? Education? I guess we doing some active learning today. Anyway, it was very different. So that was a different kind of class, but I enjoyed that class. Community health was fine for me. I didn't enjoy the clinicals, but community health, mental health was fine for me with the exception of the clinicals. I did not enjoy our clinicals at all. We went to an actual place called Western State. And I may insert a picture up here of what it looked like, what it looked like way back in the day. It was actually called the Insane Asylum. Okay, not a mental health institution, but insane asylum. When you walk onto the property of this facility, it looks like something you would see in a movie, a psych movie, an old psych movie at that. And we were, it was, I have to do a story time on that. But that clinical was one of my hardest clinicals because I don't do well with mental health issues. I don't deal well with people who can manipulate you. Again, another story time another day. But yes, that was one of my hardest clinicals, was mental health rotation. Not because of the content. The content was fine. It was because of the people and how they manipulate you. And if you're kind of naive like I was, you get played like a fiddle. So that was that. I think that's pretty much it. Health assessment was not an issue for me. Fundamentals was not an issue for me. Believe it or not, pharmacology was not. I learned my way of studying, so pharmacology was not an issue for me. I want to say that's pretty much it. Adult health 1, 2. We had mental health, med surg, community health. We had some pretty interesting rotations though. When it comes to mental health, we also they did electric, what's it called? ECT therapy, where the electrodes, where they do electric shock therapy. We actually went to a place that we got to see someone do electric shock therapy on somebody and see what before, during, and after. And so we got to see that. This is, again, I graduated back in 2004, so this was a while back. And it was a great experience. So we had very good clinical experiences for sure. Excellent clinical experiences. Of course, we dealt with the nurses who didn't want to be bothered with us, but for the most part, that hasn't changed in the 17 years that I've been a nurse. So it is what it is on that. But I want to say that's pretty much it for my bachelor's program. The hardest classes again were research because of the dryness of the class. OB I almost failed. And then of course med surg because I just didn't care for the content. Cardiac almost Cardiac chapter almost did it for me. And I am still weak. I have to admit this. I am still weak when it comes to cardiac. I'm still weak when it comes to cardiac. I get it. I get it in general, but I'm still weak when it comes to that. Now, I do want to go ahead and tell you this just to give people hope and to help people understand that, nursing school is hard. It's intended to be hard. Everybody does not need to be a nurse just because they sign up for a class. To preface all of that, I had to take A&P 3 times. Okay, anatomy and physiology, I took 3 times back then. And I understand why I needed to know A&P now. Okay, so anybody who's watching this, make sure you have a strong foundation in anatomy and physiology before you go to nursing school. Okay, in micro. I didn't have a hard time with micro either. PreReq wise. The only class I had a hard time PreReq wise was chemistry. Back then we had to take 2 chemistry classes. I cannot stand chemistry. I hated it in high school, hated it in college, couldn't stand it. So PreReq wise, the only hard class I actually had for me. Micro was not that hard to me. A&P, it took me a while to get around to it and get it right, but I got it together. And then that's it for PreReq. I told you about the BSN. Let's move on to the MSN program. MSN program, my Master's of Science in Nursing. My focus was nursing education. My difficulty in that program, besides the fact to be mindful that when you go to a master's program, you cannot get anything lower than a B in terms of a final grade. You can make a C on an assignment, but you can not make anything lower than a B as a final grade for that class. So you can't have too many C's on your assignments because otherwise your grade will be a C. So I had difficulty in 2 classes when it comes to my master's program. Otherwise, the rest of them were pretty easy to me. The 2 classes was advanced patho. So I had to take advanced pathophysiology. And that class actually had to drop. So I had to drop the class. I saw I was making a C in the class. I was pregnant at the time with my oldest son. And I saw I was making a C in that class, so I dropped that class, retook it by itself. That's the class I took by itself. So sometimes when it comes to some of these classes, you just got to take these classes by itself because I could not do the rigor of that class plus whatever else I was taking at the time, plus I was pregnant. So advanced patho was hard for me. And then the second class was research. Now, why was research hard for me? Not because of the APA, yet again, it's because it's dry. And then we get into this qualitative and quantitative and just different things that I am just so not interested in. But again, I'm understanding why it's important, especially in healthcare, especially being advanced practice or advanced level of nursing, graduate level of nursing. So again, research is just not my strong point because I have no interest in it. So fast forward now, that was it for my master's. Go on to the DNP. What was my difficult classes in my DNP? The same 2 classes. We took epidemiology in my program. So epidemiology was a very difficult class for me. It's based on statistics. It's based off of, just diseases, illnesses, the mortality, morbidity rates, things like that. What is, is it a correlation that this happens and then that? Is it a positive correlation or a negative correlation? Like all those things, like, oh my gosh, epidemiology almost took it. Nothing ever took me out my DMP program. But when I tell you the class I had to work the hardest for was the epidemiology class. It was one of those classes where I literally went to the library to study. I have never had to go to the library to study anything ever. But epidemiology, I literally packed up my things, went to the library, and studied every day for epidemiology. I got an A in the class, so I was happy with that. It shows you what hard work does when you put the work in. And then my other class, research, of course. And research because the class itself was okay, but we had a group project as the entire grade, which I cannot stand. So I do not like the fact that they based the entire grade off of the course, off of one group project. That's what the whole thing was, one group project. And the problem with that was we had people drop the program and they left all the work for us to do. So they gave us extension, but we ended up anyway getting a B. That's the only B I got in my doctoral program. I would have a 4.0 if it wasn't for that research class. Hated that class because of that. Another class I had, I wouldn't say difficulty. Well, it wasn't a class per se, but it was the IRB process. The IRB process is when you actually go and you send your proposal to the IRB board and they review and decide whether your topic or what you're going to do, is it going to be something that's good for a good project to do. And it talks about, how it impacts other people. So in terms of having human subjects as participants in your study. and basically protecting them from harm. And if you want to know the history of why we have an IRB process, think about the Tuskegee experiment, and that's one of the experiments, Tuskegee and one other one. So think about those things when you want to know more about why do we have an IRB board. That's why. And so I get it, but that process was daunting. It took me 6 months to get through that whole process, just to find out that they didn't understand what my project was really going to be on, and I am having to change my topic altogether. It was very frustrating. I didn't really have to change the topic. I had to tweak some things, but the thing is, when you've done something for 6 months, when you've done research for 6 months, at that point in time, you should be, wrapping things up, and you can't, because everything's contingent upon what the board approves or disapproves. So that's what made that one difficult. So that's in a nutshell. So, I mean, the program was rigorous because it is a doctoral program. But the thing is, when you're focused on what you need to be doing, it's not so bad. If you take the time to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate this time to study, it's not so bad. Also, I was going to go back to my BSN. I took the HESI, which is the HESI was our exit exam. I did not have an entrance exam. Keep in mind, this is back in 2002. So I did not have an entrance exam for my program, but we did have an exit exam, and the HESI was our exit exam. I took that 3 times to finish, to actually formally graduate from the program. So I say all this to say that I have not had it always together. I've had struggles in nursing school. I had struggles in my master's program as well as my doctoral program. That is what nursing school is like. You're going to have struggles. Now, how do you handle it is the question. How you handle it is up to you. And if you are wanting to be successful, nothing can stop you from being successful, because you are destined for greatness. And once I knew that about myself, I just had to buckle down and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's taken me 3 times to do A&P. Yes, it took me 3 times to pass the exit exam, HESI exit exam. Yes, I had difficulties in med surg. Yes, I could not stand research because it was dry. But sometimes you have to do the things that you don't want to do because of the fact that you have to learn how to do it, and it's part of the nursing process in terms of how we grow, and we grow in our journey to becoming nurses. So hopefully this video has been insightful for you. It was really just to kind of give you a snippet of like, okay, what was nursing school like for Dr. Marita P? Did she have any problems, any issues in class? And I did, it was just difficult. There's just nothing else to say about it. It was just difficult. And every subject is not easy for me. Even within the nursing program, even if I loved it, like I said, OB is my love, and I still had difficulties in that class. So don't let anything like that discourage you. If you happen to love something, it may mean you have to put more work into it in terms of understanding it, but you can still do it. Don't think because you love something but you're not doing well in that class, that means it's not for you. No, not at all. It just means you're gonna have to put some more time and attention and energy into that class, and that is okay. So anyway, that concludes this video. I am trying to keep this video short and sweet and to the point as best I can. Basically, now follow me on IG, follow me on TikTok. Please join me for the 12 days of my 12 days of Christmas this year. I am going to treat myself very well this Christmas season, and I would love for you to see the things that I have picked up for myself for the 12 days of Christmas, hauls, vlogs, and such. Follow, share, comment, like I said, follow me on IG and TikTok. And until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.